Standing at a podium surrounding a full circular lecture hall was a lone bipedal insectoid being resembling a praying mantis. His four segmented legs lightly bounced in place as the entire room was bustling with mumbles and chatter that soon died off as attention was drawn to him and his fluttering thorax wing. His segmented exoskeleton bright green with his arms holding a translucent glass plate with two metal segments, one on the top and one on the bottom. The insectoid being begins his presentation as a title soon shows, The Shocking Discovery of a New Species, by SciFi. Greetings to everyone here of the Galactic Systems Chancellors. I have asked you all here to reveal the secret project that we of the High Council have been working on the last 8 stellar cycles. SciFi speaks as the large circular holographic projector behind him kicks on, revealing a small blue orb floating and rotating. This here is a newly discovered planet. It is inside one of the galaxy's arms near the edge. The thing about this planet in particular is that it is the only planet inside its system to hold living, breathing life. Not only is that strange, but what is also strange is that the entire solar system is inside of a void bubble. SciFi says as chatter begins when a zooming out of the system is shown. It shows 10 planets with one massive one having a large elliptical orbit, 2 asteroid belts, and 4 gas planets, one of which could be considered a brown star, but after that, nothing. Just a blank, empty void of space in a full sphere spanning nearly 10 light-years in diameter. Occurrences like this were extremely rare, as void pockets were usually too frigidly cold to hold any form of living species, even those with perfect conditions around the parent star. The probability of this occurring was so astronomically impossible that no one thought they could actually house life. This species which calls this planet home have named it Earth, another name for dirt in the languages spoken there. The species itself is also truly very different from all other known species in the galaxy, but we will get to that in a moment. Truthfully, upon examination, we thought the planet itself was just us all here in the High Council going insane. But no. The planet exists. Its cacophony of species exists, and the one species to truly prosper on it are just as unbelievable. SciFi says as his mandibles click in excitement and his eyes dart from every other species surrounding him. What could possibly make the world seem so impossible to exist to the great ones of the High Council? Speak Triixel Yen, a female voice asks, coming from a red-furred bovine species that has red and white mushrooms growing on its back. The fact the planet has met all classifications to be considered a Gamma-class Hellworld for one? SciFi exclaims, causing terrified gasps to envelop the entire hall. Now, as I was saying, this planet has met the perfect conditions for habitation of many species of varying climates. They have insects such as my species, the Triixel Yen, the bovine race of the Haloon, even the frigid cold-loving Kanyanks, all in one planet, but so many more as well. Every member species of this galactic chamber has a form of species on that planet. SciFi says, showing the counterparts of the species that live on the planet, each one shocking the members as they all stare in wonder. From deserts that run upwards of 139 degrees in heat, to frigid colds that reach 200 below zero. This planet holds every conceivable environment known. However, they have storms there that make our own homeworld devastators seem like a light drizzle. Winds gaining speeds over 300 miles per hour, strikes of superheated plasma that explode the very atmosphere around itself, swirling devil pillars that destroy countless miles of landscapes, fires that burn entire forests, and even quakes that shatter and alter the very ground beneath the species' feet. This world even has actively erupting volcanoes and even a new classification we have dubbed supervolcanoes, whose entire covered summit spans hundreds of miles across. SciFi speaks once again as the holograms continue showing footage of the disasters. Wooden objects piercing solid stone from winds, hurricanes, and lightning strikes. Earthquakes and tornadoes ravaging the land as fires and volcanoes are shown, making nearly every member of the council fear for their own lives just seeing these things. What the hell kind of devil world has the High Council found, SciFi? What in all of the Holy Ones has gone wrong for the universe to birth such an atrocity? An oilynx, a bipedal owl-like creature, asks. But that's the thing. Nothing was wrong. We of the Council believe this world has existed as a counterbalance to everything else good in the galaxy. Where one species thrived, another on this world didn't. Where one species died, another was born here. But that, the planet itself, is nothing when we compare it to the dominant species of the world. Scrizel says as he pulls out a small orb from his robes that floats up and brings up a huge display showing a nearly hairless bipedal creature with 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, and diagrams of organs, range of motion, even diagrams of its entire internal system, shocking every species in the room, who immediately begin staring in fascination, horror, and wonder. Some species even stare in lust and primal hunger at the vulnerable-looking species. I asked for your attention here. I know how these species look, but believe me when I say that these human beings, are far from helpless. Scrizel speaks as the orb that showed the diagrams and medical knowledge soon changes to showing these creatures in various activities. Everything from fighting huge forest fires to 2 or more humans in what appears to be gladiatorial matches beating each other into unconsciousness. Speeding vehicles smash into corners and flip as they race these metal coffins around designated tracks and crash large vehicles into one another, or smaller ones. Even a large reptilian-looking metal behemoth that breathes fire, then grabs and eats other metal vehicles of transport. The videos switch to shots of combat between the species and how they devastate each other with their weapons, ranging from knife fights, fist fights, and even weapons that spit fire and cause entire holes to be blown in their enemies. Some who lost limbs to explosive devices or have holes inside them still continue to fight back against attackers. One video shows a species resembling the Guzvaldi mauling a human being, leaving him bleeding and having huge gashes and missing chunks of himself, who after the attack gets back up and heads to seek medical attention. This species, calling itself human beings, are just built different. Everything you see here is footage captured by our drones and archives of data these humans have kept of their own past, so they do not repeat the mistakes they made previously. We have footage ranging from their mating habits to fights to everyday life and then some. This species was forged out of the wasted genetics of every other species on the planet that, in the gestating primordial ooze, cobbled itself together into a usable form. This species has even detailed its origins and evolution from what they call the Great Apes family, evolving from tree-dwelling apes to plain-striding early humans. They theorized that the planet itself created the entire human species for the simple purpose of being food for every predator species on the planet. They were born with no claws to hunt, so they created tools. They had no fur for warmth, so they stole fire from nature. They were hunted by everything hiding in tall grass, so they evolved to walk upright and see them before being seen themselves. This species survived because of how they hunt, and they hunt by literally never getting tired. Imagine if you were Haloon grazing in a field and a predator alerted you, you'd run away. The problem is humans would simply follow you. They alert you again and you would run away again and humans would follow. This species tracked, hunted, and killed species of animals by outlasting them all in endurance and learning to throw pointed sticks and rocks. Scrizel spoke as 3D imaging showed just what he was talking about, causing a few of the Haloon species to faint or cower in fear. Predators that never tire and could track you for miles. Worst nightmare fuel to give them. Humans were spited by the very nature of their homeworld, and so humans evolved in a way to spite nature. See here, half of the species in this room can easily be exterminated by 2 extremely deadly chemical poisons, capsaicin and caffeine, my species included. Humans have a plant there on the earth that naturally produce them. Scrizel clicks a button showing 2 plants, shocking the council. Not only this, but the reason those plants exist is that they evolved this way as to not be eaten by any species. The plants are called jalapeno and arabica berries. Humans didn't get the memo that nature wanted these plants to be left alone and decided that just to spite nature they would still eat them. Scrizel says, showing videos of humans eating the plants happily and causing gasps. That's not the worst part. This species has also selectively bred the jalapeno plant with other naturally occurring plants to make hybrids with even more naturally occurring capsaicin. They bred it to the point one pepper species contains so much capsaicin that just one pepper can cause the extinction of every exoskeletal species on the council. However, to the humans it causes extreme pain and hallucinations. The humans, of course, still eat them. Scrizel speaks, showing a bunch of different humans eating the genocide plant and not even caring. The caffeine. They somehow found a way to concentrate the chemical by roasting the seed that holds it and turning it into a drink. Scrizel shows people drinking different colored liquids of what is called coffee, showing diagrams of how the caffeine was concentrated 1,000 times the norm in the plant. They are even able to eat the fermented cacao plant. They call it chocolate. It's considered a delicious snack. Scrizel says, showing large groups having muddy brown bricks in their hands being enjoyed as snacks by this species as well as a liquid drink. The human species has been classified just as insane as the world that birthed them. This species, however, has done something not even we of this galactic conglomerate of species has thought to do, and even the High Council has agreed that we will soon be working on bringing it to ourselves, Scrizel says as he brings up something that no one seems to understand. The humans of Earth are technologically attuned to the point they are already exploring the other planets of their system. We captured a probe they sent that had all the information we could ever want on them, including language, translations, diagrams, and stories of battles past. They even created a strange thing called the Internet, which is a massive interconnected network of nodes and information caches worldwide that anyone at any time can access with the right equipment. This Internet holds the entirety of the humans' collective knowledge on, well, everything. It's a massive data store that is actively updated, improved, and worked on to the point they are even experimenting with augmenting the very fabric of their perceived reality with digital information, Scrizel says as he shows humans wearing headsets that, while not transporting the human itself, it transforms the world around them into something new for them to enjoy, bringing awe and wonder to other species. This Internet is also a store of many interesting things. The Internet has many rules to follow, but one universal rule known the world over is one dubbed Rule 34. That rule in particular, based on translation with the help of the probe we caught named Voyager 1-inch, states, Rule 34, if it exists, there is porn of it, no exceptions. Now this is obviously hyperbole, right? Humans don't know of alien species, right? That is correct. But humans have before any other species theorized about the existence of alien life and theorized what those species could or would look like. They archived them on the Internet through art pieces and drawings, like this one. Scrizel says as he pulls up images from a human website. The images shown are mostly harmless but very, very explicit, showing many varying different species that all call this galaxy home. As you can see, the human species has a mind forever curious of the universe around them, and by sheer luck they have somehow guessed somewhat accurate depictions of many of the species in this room. They also express interest in mating with these depictions as seen by these humans in what is called a comment section, and humans have no shame dressing up as though they were these species. Scrizel continues as he shows images of humans wearing full suits to turn themselves into facsimiles of these various species. But be warned, if you do try and mate with humans, they may seem vulnerable, however they are anything but. This here is how human muscles work. Scrizel says, showing an animated depiction of a group of muscles working in tandem to expand and contract to facilitate movement, showing they work like levers, giving humans untold strength beyond what normal species have. They grew this kind of muscle because otherwise they could not survive the gravity of their own planet. Its gravity is 9.32 meters per second, meaning 9.32 meters squared. The planet Earth has a gravity 2.465 times the galactic average, and humans see this as no big deal. Not only that, but the clips I showed of their version of warfare, yeah, that is merely a light skirmish between two countries. The humans who lost limbs and had holes shot in them, even the one man mauled by that quadruped species who got up, it's because of another deadly chemical that can quite literally cause death to nearly all the species here, so much so that it was declared that production from any source would be considered treason and result in banishment from the Galactic Council. Yes, I speak of adrenaline, the potent chemical that send even the weakest amongst us into a violent killing frenzy that would take a full security detail to stop. Scrizel says as he shows the diagram of a human brain showing one very tiny portion before a label comes up calling it by name. This is the human adrenal gland located in the brain. Under extreme duress, stress, and damage, this tiny gland floods the human body with enough adrenaline to kill 10 full-grown Dysclixian warrior caste. It does this to keep the human alive long enough to find medical attention. Humans evolved a gland to produce a chemical that makes them nearly unkillable simply to survive the bullshit their own planet throws at them. This species defies logic and reason and calls the very concept of what it takes for life to form into question. We of the High Council brought this species to attention now for the simple reason that we need you all to understand that you are not to engage humans in any form of combat or contact. Skrizel says as another diagram shows up showing a large invading fleet of starships as it seems to be nearing planet Earth. We say this because humans are quite literally just built different and they may not be around very long. An invading force of Reavers from the Andromeda Galaxy have arrived and set their sights on Earth as a staging point. We cannot contact Earth because we all need to prepare for the inevitable galactic war approaching. The only thing we can do is hope that humans being built different is enough to stall the Reavers and buy us time to gather the forces we need to fight them. This council is hereby dismissed. Alert your ruling governments of the incoming threat and the species who are unknowingly about to hold the line for us all. Skrizel says as he walks away to an elevator ascending to an upper floor, leaving the visual display of Earth and all the information on Earth free to be transmitted. The Galactic Council mourning what possible could have been a very welcomed or hated addition to the galaxy at large. Skrizel was again at a podium, looking over the massive room filled with species from around the galaxy. In his hands, he held a simple glass panel framed by 2 metal bars, one at the top and one at the bottom. As he pressed a few illuminated words, the chambers went dark, and the large hologram projector sprang to life, showing a rotating planet once more. Many recognized it, but noted that the effects of the invading Reavers from the Andromeda Galaxy scarred the surface. It is with mixed emotions that I and all of the High Council call this meeting of species once more on behalf of the humans. We have news, and it is strange how to present it. Skrizel spoke as his antennae twitched. What happened? Were they culled? A red-furred bovine with red and white mushrooms on its back called out in worry. Fear not, the humans have surprisingly won the skirmish against the invaders. The Haloon can rest assured that humans have survived the conflict. Skrizel reassured, showing recent images and videos of the devastation and humans rebuilding entire cities, even joking and having fun like before they were invaded. The humans survived. Did they surrender? Were they made vassals? Subjugated? The owl-like Oilinx woman spoke in worry. The humans have actually won the battle. They wiped out and eradicated the invading force. You see, it was a strange circumstance, as the invading species used massive insects as an invasion force to try and clear away all life on the planet. It took 5 minutes. 5 whole minutes for the surprise attack to wipe out half of all human life. After the surprise was gone, it turns out humanity has a penchant for mass slaughter, Skrizel explained, showing captured footage of giant ants, spiders, robotic drones, and massive wasps. All were being obliterated by humanity using their firearms. Entire hives were eliminated by missiles fired from miles out at sea, and acidic web-shooting spiders were hit with pellet-throwing tubes with such force that the bodies ragdolled away as if hit by a vengeful god. The human weapons were surprisingly effective at devastating the enemy ground troops. It turns out that the country that had the most success in defending itself is also the one with the most insane people ever. The tools of warfare they had at their disposal were like nothing we have ever seen before. Their weaponry, simply put, are kinetic force multipliers. They take a solid lead cap, place it on top of a brass casing filled with a potent accelerant that ignites when met with a primer chemical. It's housed in a specialized chamber with striations etched into it for accuracy. They essentially throw small, hard rocks with explosions propelling the rocks faster than sound, Skrizel continued, showing a soldier in full gear aiming a shotgun at a leaping spider and blasting it to pieces. The stopping power launched the corpse into other bugs, knocking them off balance. They found a way to weaponize kinetic energy instead of working on energy-based technology. They really are insane. I like 'em, a Dysclixian chancellor spoke up. The large, shark-like alien race had mastered energy earlier than most other races. Yes, not only that, but humans have war down to a scary art form. Just watch as one of the human ships, which they have named the A-10 Warthog, fires its gun. It's breathtaking, Scrizel said as a video played of what looked like a flying machine designed by a drug addict firing its massive gun. The volley lasted barely 7 seconds. The area they fired at had held at least 200 large, red, acid-spitting ants, all of which were now mincemeat, and the plane circled around for another volley. Those in attendance were shocked at how easy it was to kill the bugs. That weapon fires ammunition the size of a 16 ounces liquid container at 75 rounds per second. The gun in that craft is so powerful that if they fire it for more than 10 seconds, the plane falls out of the sky due to lack of lift. That is just one of hundreds of different aerial craft they have at their disposal. They also have ground superiority, Scrizel said, bringing up many different armored vehicles with massive weapons mounted on top of them. They even brought a few old vehicles out of retirement. Galactic Council, I present to you the EM-150, known to humans as the Thing. This monstrosity has 6 mounted munitions throwers that humans call a recoilless rifle. It essentially shoots out bombs at people and is mostly used against other armored vehicles, but if no vehicles are around, well, buildings and other ground troops work. Now I know you all are asking, how is this thing accurate? They line the recoilless rifles by strapping a .50 caliber rifle to each of the 6 recoilless rifles. They aim this beast for a shot with its giant guns by using slightly smaller giant guns and visible rounds called tracers, which can also just be used as regular giant guns. Oh, they also have a machine gun on top of all that to provide cover fire for those who reload the 6 recoilless rifles. But honestly, they never needed it. After all, if something is hit with this... Scrizel showed the Thing blast all 6 of its recoilless rifles at once, nailing an enemy craft and blowing it completely out of the sky, essentially turning it into scrap metal, then showing it being carted off in pieces to be studied. I doubt they're going to get back up without at least a headache and a new outlook on not messing with humanity. We of the High Council are borrowing this term from the humans in their video game languages, but the invaders were not familiar with the final boss of Earth, also known as the United States of America. They are well over 50 years ahead of every other country technologically and militarily. It's honestly astounding, as they have something called discretionary spending, in which it does not matter how much money they spend or take. They continue to buy, manufacture, and produce weapons of war and munitions of war at a rate that puts the rest of their world to shame. They spend more money on their military than the entire Sartusian Trade Federation does in all aspects. Accounting for viable exchange rates with our universal credit, they spend the equivalent of 877 billion credits on its defenses, Scrizel said as he showed different hypersonic planes dropping bombs, shooting guns, and just demolishing encampments of the bugs. The aerial ships were also no match for one particular aircraft that seemed to be able to sneak up on the unsuspecting crafts and blow them out of the sky. They have naval ships that provide artillery support to ground troops, ships with enough firepower to change the very topography of the Earth itself, Scrizel said, showing a full hunter-killer group of dreadnoughts, aircraft carriers, and even battleships, all of which were loaded to the brim with guns and munitions, showing one battleship in particular that was unloading every last munition it had on a bug-infested island, which after its entire volley in 2 hours showed the island no longer exists. Their planet spent millennia rubbing 2 tectonic plates together to make that island, and the invaders pissed off America, so they, in the soldiers' own words, freedom baptized the whole thing. Another quote from surviving news broadcasters of Earth stated that to keep land from the enemy, America decided to just waterboard the entire landmass. No one thought that was even an option, not the bugs on the island and certainly not us stateside. Humans, when at war, are terrifying. Even with outmatched technology, that gap wasn't there long, Scrizel said, showing once again many downed drones, ships, and weaponry from said ships being carted off. In the 4 celestial cycles we have prepared for war against the Reavers, humanity as a whole came together, shared resources and brainpower, and reverse-engineered the Reavers' technology. Everything from energy and plasma-based weaponry to the very alloy they use on ships to make them so damage-resistant to energy-based attacks. The Reavers had sent unmanned drones with teleportation technology which acted as doorways from their main homeworld to Earth. It's how they can drop so many fodder without worry of number drop-off from long-distance travel. Even the alien species themselves were no match for the weapons of humans. Skryzel showed giant purple and green frog and toad-like aliens using plasma-based energy to attack. The toads and frogs were able to regrow lost limbs if given enough time and rest. However, that was rarely an option as humanity was relentless in its fervor of retaliation and just kept assaulting the enemies, blasting them to pieces, soaking the earth in purple blood. The Reavers were expecting a species with weapons to match its defenses, but since humans instead focused on kinetic weaponry, all their advanced heat-dissipating armor and platings were useless. They did nothing to stop what are essentially micrometeors slamming against them at the speed of sound. "My word, the humans were lucky," spoke a robotic voice of synthetic-based alien beings. The Zarlixny species observed the humans even more closely. All the gathered info is being displayed and accessed by all the different species of the galaxy with excitement. Not only lucky, but the Reavers were also desperate. The whole 4 celestial cycles the conflict lasted, humans pushed the Reavers back a total of 6 times. Now it may confuse you as you amended battle data. Well, as it turns out, the Reavers had quartz-based technology, and you know what that means? Skryzel asked the chamber. Dead panicked silence was the answer he received. "Are you telling us that the Reavers had access to what is theorized to be time-travel-based technology?" the Oilink's chancellor asked, her voice barely a whisper. Yes, the humans, upon the first victory against the Reavers' forces, reverse-engineered the weapons and alloys. The second, they were able to better defend against the invaders and bring whole ships and automated drones, recreating them as well. The last 3 skirmishes saw that Earth not only pushed them back, but nearly wiped them all out. In an effort to not lose to humanity, the Reaver species as a whole used the quartz-based technology due to the mineral's strange connection with time, and were able to send even more advanced tech to previously lost battles as a means to try and beat humanity and keep them from gaining advanced technology so future battles would be easier, and humanity could be wiped out. The plan backfired and led to humans gaining even more advanced tech after eventually beating that stratagem too, and using the even more advanced technology in earlier battles to guarantee their own victory. Humanity beat a time-traveling enemy, and used that technology to nullify any advantage it could have brought the Reavers. The original battles, as you can see, had far fewer casualties. But the amended battle data shows higher casualties, but later battles with fewer and fewer losses on humanity's side, Skryzel said as he rubbed his head from the entire migraine the conflicting battle data showed. It took nearly a full celestial cycle to figure out the quartz-based shenanigans the Reavers pulled. So how long until the Reaver species tries invading other portions of the galaxy? We have to be prepared since they can't take the humans. They'll want to take some of us out to use as forward bases before attacking humanity again, the Dixiclixian chancellor asked as she stood up, slamming her hands down on her desk. That won't be needed. Humanity already ended the threat permanently. They were able to reverse-engineer everything the Reavers had besides the quartz-based tech, and that includes the teleportation they had. Hijacking 6 massive motherships that in a last-ditch assault to kill all of humanity by landing on the planet's surface as fortresses, humanity was able to pinpoint the planet they were attacking from. Humanity harnessed the atom for weaponry in its early years and not for the energy potential it had. When hijacking the Reaver teleporter signal, they reversed the polarity signals and scrambled them, so anything sent through humanity's own teleporters would land on the Reaver homeworld. Skryzel said as he showed scientists happily waving at giant technological arches crackling with energy and glowing deep blue. Humanity used atomic weaponry to end their enemy once and for all. Once again, to borrow from human speech patterns, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, humanity as a whole harnessed the power of the Reaver's teleportation technology, hijacked the signals, and used the very same teleporter technology to bitch-slap the entire Reaver homeworld with the fucking sun. They erased the Reavers from existence, much in the same way the Reavers tried ending the existence of humanity. Once again, I say to you all, humanity is just built differently, Skryzel said as he began walking away to the elevator to meet with the rest of the High Council before stopping in his stride and turning around to face the other species. By the way, if you forgot what this means, humanity knows alien life exists now and has technology on par with Reavers to defend themselves if need be. The High Council advises you to seek friendly relations with these people, as you all have seen exactly how humanity deals with enemies. They will no doubt make first contact in the next few stellar cycles at the latest. Be prepared because ready or not, humanity is now amongst the stars, Skrizel said as his elevator arrived and sent him up to a higher chamber, so that he may discuss with the other High Council members on how to proceed with humanity's eventual addition. Standing at a podium once again, Skrizel is joined by a human who is currently speaking with them, as many other species excitedly pile into the large circular conference room. A whole new section has been made, housing a small number of humans who are staring in wonder at all the different species around them, including a few recognizable species from old movies and even comic books. Soon the entire room's lights dim, and the chatter dies down as Skrizel speaks up to everyone. Hello once again to the esteemed gathered species of the galaxy. Today is a very special day indeed. It is as I spoke 6 stellar cycles ago. Humans have discovered us and made first contact. They have some information to clarify. So, as they have told me, please feel free to ask whatever questions you have, but please keep the questions appropriate for this council chamber. Skrizel moves aside and takes a seat nearby as a human walks up to the podium and takes a calming breath. Greetings to you all from the human race. My name is Matthias. I have been asked to represent the human race in this meeting, and I'm happy to answer any appropriate questions you all may have about the human race. Confusing or contradictory information will also be corrected, so don't worry if you get something wrong. Now, first question. The cute owl woman. Your species is known as Oi Lynx, correct? Matthias speaks as the owl woman nods her head and responds. That is correct, Chancellor Matthias. My name is Oiksnail. When translated to human speech, it is pronounced octane. You may refer to me as that. My question is about your world and its drinks. Your species is able to drink things that have been fermenting for months. Is this true? Octane speaks as she tries to keep the feathers around her neck and cheeks from fluffing up at the compliment from the human. Fermented fruits, you mean alcohol, right? Yes, we can drink them. It takes a special process of ensuring mashed or blended fruits or starches are combined with sugars and yeasts, which are left alone to ferment after boiling them together. The human liver has adapted to work in conjunction with the kidneys to filter poisonous substances from our blood. Though we have to be careful because if we drink too much alcohol, it can lead to our livers failing and killing us. I believe the lethal dose is considered to be based on LD50, which is the lethal dose to kill half the population, and that's believed to be 0.40%, but that also varies based on a person's weight. The more weight a person has, the more blood, and the longer the travel and filter time. So the more a person weighs, the more they can drink, Matthias explains as most species amend some data. Fascinating. I asked because as an avian-based species we cannot handle yeast at all, like in your drink called beer, as it could lead to our stomachs inflating and killing us, Octane says as she sees Matthias still looking at her. All right, you there. The brown male Haloon. What is your name and question? Matthias asks as he notes the uncanny resemblance to the video game species of Minecraft. My name is Skrizel. Yes, we are the Haloon. We have a question about your dietary needs. What do humans subsist on? Skrizel asks as Matthias thinks of a way to explain it. Well, we of the human race are omnivores. With the help of Skrizel, we learned of other species, such as the Guzvaldi, who also share a similar diet. We eat anything from roots, starches, grains, legumes, vegetables, fruits, and lots of meat. We have entire industries dedicated to the safe and humane treatment of animals we raise for food. Not a lot of industries ignore the laws we have, but the less scrupulous ones do slip through the cracks. We eat poultry, pork, beef, venison, and many aquatic shellfish and other sea life. As you can see here, Matthias shows images of the many different industries and farms that provide food and livestock. A lot of species see truly less evolved counterparts to themselves being eaten, the Haloon included, as they get a bit scared. Forgive me if I offend you or other humans, but, do you plan on including some of the species on the council as part of the menu? Skrizel asks as sweat runs down his neck, making Matthias animatedly shake his head in denial. No, nah, that is not going to happen. We eat the lesser-minded versions of yourselves only. They have sentience, sure. That means that they have basic needs and thoughts of filling those needs. But the needs they have, which their sentience makes them go for, are simply need food, need water, need to poop, run from danger, have sex. They are literally unable to think beyond genetically driven instincts and have no concept beyond those instincts. It is sapience, which is considered awareness of self that consciousness gives us, where we draw the line. Any being capable of actual communication between itself and another party, with a full range of thoughts beyond instinct such as yourselves, which can openly give proper thought and consent, are considered sapient and thus ineligible for eating. It is more a moral choice than an actual rule, but nearly all society follows consensus on majority moral decisions, Matthias says as Shkrival nods, happy with that information, as at least 300 species feel relieved at his word. Hey, I have a question, Squishy. The name's Nika. I'm a Dix-Clixian. Can I go since none of these pansies will ask the real juicy ones? The near 7 tall anthropomorphized shark woman asks as she adjusts the water container around the gills on her neck. Ask away, Nika. I'm happy to answer anything, Matthias says as Nika smirks and brings up a diagram from a website showing artistic depictions of anthropomorphic sharks. Are there really human beings on your world who actually wish to mate with the other species of the Council, such as mine? The art pieces and 3D rendered models your people made on these various sites are surprisingly accurate for never having met any alien race before. Honestly, when I sent word to my leaders and homeworld about your race and the info on this want of that portion of your race, quite literally every science cast member, and even a few portions of the warrior cast wished to experiment with the possibility of mating. Myself included, by the way. Nika licks her lips, staring down at Matthias, the 6 tall human, with a lustful gaze. You mean the furry and scaly communities, right? Oh, absolutely. It's a bit of a funny thing, actually, but even early humans had depictions of anthropomorphized animals being deities for war, love, lust, fertility, and creation, which has persisted for literally a full 1,000,000 years in our genetics. And it as a concept evolved as we humans evolved. From early carvings to cave paintings to cartoon shows where we make more humanoid shapes for animals, since they were far more memorable designs than simple human designs. As an example, let's take the 1990s movie Space Jam and the Looney Tunes character Lola Bunny. She is a species of rabbit that is orange and light cream-colored, with blue eyes, long floppy rabbit ears, and the iconic bunny cheeks and teeth, but has been given human features such as long legs, a curvy heart-shaped backside, a slim waist, a lithe torso, and slender arms with a very distinctive, attractive face. That design is a far more memorable thing to recall than simple human faces, since human faces can't really be made too unique, or they fall into what is called the uncanny valley. Also, sure, they can have freckles or tanned skin or a strange hair color, but ultimately it's still a dull, boring human for a cartoon design. As such, entire generations of children grew up watching cartoons of anthropomorphized animals, both male and female anthros, mind you. And well, kids often get crushes on things they find cute or relatively attractive. That innocent attraction, if not outgrown, can soon blossom into what is known as a sexual attraction to said fictional character or the entire concept of anthropomorphized animals as a whole, which can be classified as a kink or fetish. A staggering amount of the human population can be considered one of these furries or scalies, since a lot of them never outgrew the crushes they had and felt deep, long-lasting, and meaningful connections with those characters and even went as far as to envision themselves as being one of those species. Matthias happily answers, a bit embarrassed on the subject as Nika's smirk grows more, and she leans forward asking with a slight jeering and playful tone. Are you one of the humans in the population who find species like mine attractive? Are you, as you said, a furry or a scaly, Matthias? Nika asks as her tail begins swaying in interest. Myself, yes, I fall into both of those categories, but I also have very strict rules to follow, as do the other humans in this chamber. So sadly, as of right now, humans are banned from interacting in any way that is considered sexual with any of the gathered species of the galaxy. That is mostly for us to actually get ourselves situated into our newly discovered surroundings and gain what little foothold we can for ourselves as we join the galaxy at large in full. So while yes, many of the human species would very much enjoy a quick rendezvous with the other species of the galaxy who would allow it, it is currently off the table, Matthias says, as that information takes the wind out of Nika's sails, and she huffs, agitated, before crossing her arms and sitting back down. Skryzel actually stands up and walks over to the podium to try and get the council back on track, but before he could, another species raises its hand, gaining Matthias's attention. It is actually a Kanyanx, a small flightless bird-like species that resemble emperor penguins, as Matthias calls on them. Yes, you are a Kanyanx, am I correct? What is your name and question? Matthias asks as the Kanyanx points its flipper at them. My name is Skyper, and I have a question for you, human. I hear your planet has frigid ice continents on it that my species actually enjoy, as well as polar waters in what is called the tropics. Would it be possible to maybe visit these places? Skeeper asks, as Matthias actually smiles and nods his head. As a matter of fact, it is entirely possible. During the time it took us, which according to your calendar is 6 stellar cycles, which to us humans we call months, we had built spaceports and teleportation stations to act as travel destinations, just in case we met a species early and wanted to invite them to Earth. We actually were going to invite the galaxy as a whole to please consider visiting Earth at least once, so that we may interact more personally. The stations are built and ready and only need permission for embassies to be built so that we can activate the teleportation arrays to allow quick travel between worlds. If the Kanyanaks would like to visit, please don't hesitate to contact our homeworld and ask for visitation visas. Matthias says happily as Skyper turns to another Kanyanax next to him, who is holding a glass panel clipboard. A strange species makes itself known. An inorganic species, obviously having been crafted by something else. This species seems to have mostly human proportions, but digitized screens for faces. The robotic species actually have rather pleasant voices. We are the Nyent. We of this platform are designated as Morgan. We wish to know about these reality-perceiving altering devices humans have. Morgan asks as Matthias smiles and brings up diagrams of video game consoles, computers, and virtual reality headsets. They're called VR systems, game consoles, and computers. Humans in the late 1960s and early 1970s actually created computers and such for technological advances, but old equipment was used to experiment, and some people turned old radar equipment into games they could play. It soon evolved as time went on to where actual coding and programs were created specifically to create these games to stimulate people's minds and let them relax and have fun. As technology got better, so did the programs used to create the video games. Consoles from the Odyssey to Pong to the Atari. Then more innovations creating computers, making things like the Commodore 64 and even the Nintendo Entertainment System. As time went on with these systems, graphics got better, stories got better, and soon enough games were being made that could be considered true works of art people wanted to go into. It created the concept of virtual reality. We take a system and instead of having it require a secondary apparatus to show what's on it, we create an enclosed system that covers the eyes completely to immerse ourselves in the virtually created universes we loved. It took forever for virtual reality to kick into full swing, but it is mostly to enjoy ourselves. If your species is mostly code-based, you all would probably really enjoy video games. I'm a very avid gamer and actually brought some consoles and a VR headset, Matthias says as he shows the very headset he was talking about, as many species actually wish to experience these things called games. We very much would enjoy visiting these games, as you call them. They seem interesting to explore and learn about, Morgan says as the machine screen face shows it smiling. Skryzel takes the microphone away and begins speaking to the gathered species. As you all see, humans are very social and very vocal about many things. Watching them as we have was at first offensive when they found out, but they relented in the fact it was a needed precaution. We also updated our information on Earth, as everything we obtained from Voyager 1 was outdated or biased information. The updated information shows that I actually referred to the hippocampus in the brain, which regulates HGH and other chemicals as the adrenal gland. The humans have since corrected the data entries showing the proper adrenal gland is just beside the kidneys. The gravity of Earth is actually 9.84 meters per second squared. And the void bubble I discussed? Our visual equipment was being impaired due to fluctuations in the sun nestled inside our solar arch array. The Earth and its sun create a heliosphere, and that heliosphere is actually only 162 astronomical units in radius. The void bubble itself is well over 1,000 light-years across. The humans brought amended data just in case, but their researchers were fascinated as they knew Earth and its solar system were within the so-called local bubble, a giant void surrounded by thousands of young stars. And funny enough, they discovered that all nearby star-forming regions lay exactly on the local bubble's surface. Scrizel says as he turns to Matthias and asks him, "How did your people actually come across this information? It honestly boggles my species' minds, and we are considered to be the smartest of all the gathered species here, and we can neither understand nor begin to comprehend what went into understanding this," Scrizel says, wanting his question answered. "Oh, well, that's easy, really. We happened to stumble upon the answer and discovery by pure luck. You see, the research involved mapping 3 dimensions of space, 3 dimensions of motion, and a time dimension. With those, we were able to literally turn back the clock and see how these star-forming regions evolved over the past millennia. In contrast, most of our traditional understanding of stellar birth has been based on static 2D images of star-forming regions. Analyzing the motions of these young stars helped the scientists reconstruct the chain of events behind the creation and growth of the local bubble. They discovered that these stars were traveling mainly straight away from the bubble's surface, which suggested they were moving because the bubble was expanding over time. The researchers found that a series of about 15 catastrophic supernovae likely began taking place near the local bubble's center about 14 million years ago. The supernova explosions triggered a shock wave, and this expanding shock wave subsequently swept up a shell of dense, cool gas, that is, the surface of the local bubble, which has now collapsed to form thousands of new stars. A lot of stars are actually inside the bubble as well, but our solar system is unique as the closest star to us in the void bubble is Alpha Centauri, which is around 5 light-years away. Matthias speaks as Scrizel's eyes open wide in astonished horror at what is being told before he asks, Matthias, can I ask you how many neurons do human minds have? The ability to have this kind of advancement and progress of research and learning before reaching interstellar travel is unheard of, Scrizel says as Matthias just shrugs his shoulders. Well, when examining the dumbass bugs the Reaver species used as fodder and the Reaver species themselves, we discovered they only had a range of about maybe 200,000 to 789 million neurons. Humans, yeah, the difference between us showed because humans have well over 86 billion neurons. The gap was pretty fucking huge. We also were not shy about abusing that intelligence gap either because we're pretty sure we created a flame-throwing helicopter. Even physics is pissed off about. And if that doesn't get your dick hard, just wait until you see the giant 50 feet to 200 feet tall pilotable mechanized suits we created called Gundams. Man, those Reavers didn't know what to do when we whipped those bad boys at them. We're so glad the other species of our galaxy are much nicer, Matthias says as Scrizel and the rest of the collective species are silent at the news of what just got spoken. Well, as I have said many times to the Council, as you can see, humans are just built different. This shall conclude the meeting of species and the introduction of humanity. Now, who here votes humans be welcome to join this council with 7 chancellors and have 1 member of the High Council? Scrizel asks as every species speaks up as one. Aye, all species respond. All species opposed? Scrizel asks, hearing silence. All abstaining. Once again, Scrizel is met with silence as he turns his head towards Matthias and places a hand on his shoulder. Matthias, you are hereby as of this moment appointed as High Counselor of Earth and Humanity. This is not a decision the species make. It is one our council makes as per the data we sent to your people. You and your species are a welcomed addition to the galaxy at large. Please appoint the 7 chancellors of your species by planetary vote and just please don't squish us, Scrizel says as he walks with Matthias back to the elevator. making sure to bring Nika and Octane with him as they were appointed as High Counselors to replace the two elders who passed away a few stellar cycles ago, and it was no better time than now to reveal that to the two.